Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I am in Newport Beach, and I am at the Cardiovascular Tech Forum, and today my guest is Dr. Daniel Cantillon. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here.
All right. What brings you here today to the conference?
Yeah, so I was asked to join a panel that was talking about the consumerization or consumer access of medical devices and wearables. I'm the chief medical officer of a company called Masimo, which is based not far from here in Irvine, California. We're a medical device company that specializes in non-invasive monitoring technology, including wearables. And so really just great opportunity to exchange some ideas with other companies in this field, as well as healthcare stakeholders and others in the business community.
Tell me a little bit more about how you got involved with medical devices originally. Like a lot of different things you could have done. Why medical devices?
Yeah, so I'm a cardiologist by background. Prior to joining industry, I was at the Cleveland Clinic for 16 years, and my story was very much one of innovation and trying to problem solve and leveraging technology to improve not only the care of experience in terms of outcomes for patients, but also the user experience for patients and for clinicians. And so that led to a sequence of events that eventually caused me to go over onto this side of the fence on the industry side, because I believe very strongly that the future is in non-invasive technology. I believe the future is in wearables, and I believe that the future is in AI-enabled care. Just all of the incredible advancements with cloud computing and algorithm development, including more sophisticated models for machine learning. I think that we are just really on that cusp of some really major breakthroughs that are going to be very impactful in all aspects of healthcare.
Now, you mentioned you were on a panel. Talk to me a little bit more about what took place.
Yeah, so there was really discussion. Myself, some other CMOs and physician leaders from different companies in this space. iRhythm, AliveCor was there. A gentleman that founded a company that's based on sleep apnea detection. And really, the conversation was around, as consumers are increasingly accessing, their health data through wearable devices, what are some of promises? What are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the risks that we need to be aware of? And what responsibilities do we have as a medical device company to make sure that we're putting technology into the space where consumers can access it directly, but also giving them the types of insight they need to contextualize that information so that we're really diagnosing the sick as opposed to scaring the well. I think that's a key principle.
Now, I believe I heard in there that this is the third year that Octane is putting this on. Have you been before, or is this your first conference? My first one, by the way. I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating meeting. I recommend for anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to check this out, come on down. It's really interesting. A lot of great conversations happening here, both in the meeting and also on the sidelines of the meeting. But I would say that this is the second year that I've attended this event, and very similar to last year, just a lot of great convergence between people that are on sort of the investment side of the business, small startup companies, larger medical device companies, and then also hospital and clinical stakeholders as well.
So for those that aren't familiar, tell us a little bit more about Masimo.
So we are one of the largest manufacturers of pulse oximetry devices in the world. We're in 150 countries, and we were founded by Joe Chiani, who in 1989 solved the unsolvable problem. At the time, there was no ability to accurately read blood oxygen levels through motion and through low perfusion. And at the time, it caused some very unfortunate things, including retinopathy of prematurity, which is basically blindness in newborns and infants. And was famously what caused Stevie Wonder, the musician, to become blind. And so Joe figured out how to make pulse oximetry measurable through motion and through low perfusion across a plurality of skin tones. And if you fast forward about 30 years to where we are today, now we have multi-parameter, multi-patient solutions that include everything from brain function monitoring to ECG monitoring, which is, of course, my area of expertise, both in the hospital and then going from the hospital to to the home. So really exciting time to be in the tech space.
Yeah. So a lot of different things out. You mentioned cardiologist by trade. What excites you in the space right now, whether it's technology, whether it's founders, companies, just med tech in general? What excites you in the space right now?
It was actually one of the questions that came up in the panel, and my answer was that it's the blended sensors. And so what we have with sensors is we have optical sensors, which is what we use, to measure blood oxygen levels, pushing light through tissue. We have acoustic sensors, we have electrical sensors, we have gyroaccelerometers, we have thermistors. All of these things measure different aspects or capture different parts of the human signal. And so what we have for the first time is we have, with the miniaturization of these devices and these wearables, the opportunity to collect multiple parameters on a single device, aggregate that information, and then with the advancements that are occurring in cloud computing and with AI and with analytics, to really apply more complex decision-making support to that data set so that we're getting away from this world that I like to call the world of dumb alarms, which is like, okay, heart rate high, heart rate low, blood pressure high, blood pressure low, and more into insight-oriented alarms for nurses and for doctors to say, okay, your patient is showing signs of opiate-induced respiratory depression. Your patient is showing signs of becoming septic, developing a bloodstream infection, or you're showing signs that you're going to go into atrial fibrillation, which is a common cardiac arrhythmia. So I think that's the world that we're heading into, and I think that's a very exciting world. So that's the thing that really gets me up in the morning.
Let's dream for a moment here. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives that watch this. So let's dream for a moment. So as we head into that world that you're describing, where we can make these really complex decisions based off of data sets, and as those data sets get bigger and we get more and more accurate, like what could this mean for patient care?
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit. I really think there's so many possibilities. I mentioned, the insight that we can deliver to clinicians. One of the challenges, and I get the privilege because we are a global company all over the world, as I get a chance to go all over the world and see different healthcare models of delivery and visit different healthcare systems. And one commonality is that there's a shortage of doctors, there's a shortage of nurses. And so, at the same time, you have aging patient populations in a lot of developed countries. So, those people are being stretched very thin. And so that's a major pain point, is all the patients that are under their care, who are the one or two that require their attention. So I think that's where the insight-oriented, clinical decision support that I was speaking about becomes very crucial. But also the opportunity to improve workflows, the opportunity to improve the way that nurses and doctors are rendering care. In clinical practice, one of the things that was very frustrating for me at times is we felt like we had to adjust our workflows to accommodate new technology. And now on this side of the fence at Masimo, we strongly believe that it should be the other way around. We should adapt the technology to the clinician so that they can experience a benefit, not just in terms of what it means for their patients, but in terms of what it means for their quality of life. So we can begin to think about mitigating some of the burnout that we see in healthcare with doctors and nurses.
And I think that's something we don't talk enough about sometimes. And when we think about that, like I've had quite a few doctors in the show that are still practicing, or clinicians or otherwise, and it's a problem. It's a problem. Agreed. And especially with these new data sets, these new things, like I can't even imagine, like if we juxtapose that to other professions, if all of a sudden something's kind of handed to you and it's like, okay, now do your job differently because this exists.
Yeah, I think that's very well said.
Adjust.
I completely agree. I think that's very, very well said. I think that, the introduction of, for example, electronic health records, I think in a lot of ways that's facilitated patient care, but the benefit has come more for billing, quite honestly, than it has come for like clinician workflows. And I think now, fortunately, we're seeing more conversations like this happening, where there's a desire to integrate data into the EMR, to give clinicians the insight, and to make sure that the technology that's being applied into the healthcare ecosystem is really making life easier for doctors and nurses and respiratory therapists and other allied professionals, and not more difficult.
Well, Dan, really appreciate you coming on today.
My pleasure.
Last thing I'll say is if somebody wants to learn more about Masimo, follow the journey, connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out our website, Masimo.com. A lot of great information on there in terms of all the different products and sensors that we have to offer. There are links there to different ways you can reach out and have a conversation with us. So we'd love to hear from anybody that's listening that would like to learn more about what it is that we do.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't hit the subscribe or follow button, we welcome you to do so. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration that can help you along the way in your journey as well. Again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Dan, again, thank you for making some time for us. Thank you.